Happy Friday, November 1st, everybody. Back to our normally scheduled nonsense on 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, live from the Sci-Fi Center. This is the Sci-Fi Center Live. I am your host, William. Hello. Sort of a lot of news to cover this week. We've been covering it on a daily basis on some of the later night streams, if you guys have been around for those. I'm going to give my last thoughts before I go see Wakanda Forever on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Westworld is canceled. James Gunn and Peter Safran's first day on the job, or first week on the job. We'll go over some of the matches for Crown Jewel, WWE's next event that airs at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. I don't know if WWE is worth me getting up that early, but since I cover wrestling, I probably have to do it. Jake Paul versus Roman Reigns. I don't know if they're going to go for an upset there, but I'm ready for the Bloodline storyline to end. Let me go ahead and let's quit my damn camera from shaking. It's really coming. Let me go ahead and bring in Fade. Haven't had a co-host in quite a while because we've done a lot of overnight stuff. I don't want to know what's going on with your face right now.
Hello.
Okay.
Debuting something new.
What's the guy? What's the little wizard from He-Man?
Orko?
Orko. That's what you remind me of right now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm testing something out here. This is going to be something I use in my show.
Oh wow! So it's an LED mask.
Yeah.
You know what? I think you might have just won up Mad Max in the Doctor Doom mask. That's kind of cool, actually.
Oh, Doctor Doom! Yes. Look! Yeah. Check this out. This is funny.
Let me.
Doctor Doom, you say?
Oh, that's neat. I think Matt's going to have a copyright issue with you. All right. Say hi to the chat. Bat City stuff. Tomorrow, I'll be sure to @ James Gunn, tag James Gunn, and David Ayer and Warner Brothers Discovery with your release the Ayer cut tweets so that he absolutely knows we want it. I don't know how they can't know already, but like I said, I'll do it just for the hell of it. Be honest with you, like I said, for me, I am indifferent when it comes to the Ayer cut because I didn't have too many issues with the one that was released. However, if for some reason we get an inkling that we're going to continue on with Justice League 2 and 3 and those storylines, that one of the major purposes of that movie was to introduce those characters so that they could be used down the line, then I'm okay with it. Otherwise, I don't see them doing it just for the sake of doing it unless there's some business reason for them to do so, especially on streaming because you've seen how he shifted his focus to major motion picture releases on the big screen, and I don't see them spending any amount of money to put a movie that was a success already. But like I said, I could be wrong. I'll do the hashtag. So and then there you go, guys. If anybody in the chat or watching this wants to see it, tomorrow is the day to do that. Chappie, how you guys doing? I'm pretty sure Thade's playing with his man. Now I got to look at this the whole show, him testing that shit out. Yes, remember to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. It's in my it's in the description. Now it's really easy. If you never find a link, I don't know if I put a link in there, but it's just at the Sci-Fi Center, youtube.com @ the Sci-Fi Center. So I'm a high roller now, and I have my own handle. So everybody does, but it's a lot easier to say that and remember that. And if you look at the graphic, it's up at the very top or right above my head right now. So there you go. All right, there you go. Yeah, everybody's laughing at your new toy there. Yeah, there you go. How you doing, Dave? The Unholy Still. How you guys doing? Let's see.
What's up, everybody?
Film Goblin. So I guess the Zazoff from Zazoff, nothing on HBO Max that released until the day. Okay. Let me start over. So I guess from Zazoff, nothing on HBO Max that released with the day and date movies from last year weren't successful to the company because it was losing them money, including the Snyder cut. You're going to have a thought for people who just want everything to go to the big screen. I think they're like the dinosaur fighting extinction, to be honest with you. And I understand what he's trying to do. They figure if they put it on big screen, they're going to increase the volume once it comes to streaming. Here's where the problem is with that. Taking a family of 4 to the theater, getting them food and everything else is far more expensive than their than their subscription. And if you notice across the board, yes, you've had Top Gun, right? You make $1 billion, and you're going to have some movies that do really, really well. But for every movie that does really, really well, you're going to have movies that don't, or several movies that don't. You're going to have several movies that are in the mid-level range. Now, when you figure out the cost of budgeting, the percentage that the theater gets, I don't know if it's as sustainable as they want it to be. Now, when it comes to them losing money, including the Snyder cut, I mean, it was a $70 million. Let's say that flat out they spent $100 on Zack Snyder's Justice League, or 100,000, or 100 million. Let's just say for argument they didn't spend that much, but let's say argument's sake, how much does a company like Warner Brothers spend on putting the word out and advertising for a single movie? Just with Black Adam alone, it was $100 million right there. So you weren't just advertising for the Snyder Cut. You were advertising to get people to subscribe to your fledgling subscription service, which was at its infancy at the time. So as far as losing money goes, I don't know if it lost them, because at some point you have to invest in your company if you want it to thrive. And HBO Max was a part of their company that they really wanted to put the focal point at the time. They still are. Like I said, don't get lulled by the illusion that everybody's coming back to the theaters. People are still 2 years removed from COVID. A lot of people still don't want to go to the theaters and be jammed in there. People, like I said, the price one, it's still very expensive. The average movie ticket is $13. All right, even with military discount and all this other stuff. Once again, unless you're riding solo, you're taking a family, and it's expensive. And also consider the fact that some projects, if it weren't for streaming, things like Netflix, HBO Max, and others, wouldn't even get made, because you would not be able to justify putting them in theaters. So at least if there's a platform for that. But yeah, he wants to, like I said, right now he wants to push everything to the big screen. I don't think it's sustainable, to be honest with you. And that's one of the few things that he's done so far, or I don't think he's going to have to make an adjustment. And that's just not me being some kind of a business whiz or anything else. I mean, you can clearly see where the economy is at. You can clearly see where the cost of living is at. You can clearly see, and that's not just a temporary. We've been in movies have been really, really expensive to go to before COVID, before inflation. All right, it is a really expensive deal. And when you figure these theaters make the majority of their money off of concessions, those prices aren't going down. So when you multiply it times 2 and 3 versus a $14 subscription that your whole household has access to, like I said, if you give them the opportunity, a lot of people will eventually stop going to the cinemas because of it. They're going to get priced out of it. So I don't see how that is sustainable for them. And as far as day and date, I mean, whether it was successful or not is a philosophy of whether you want to invest in what is going to be a big part of the future of entertainment or not. If you are strictly speaking from big screen, then yeah, because you didn't make as much money on the big screen as you would if at 100%. But guess what? We promoted Dune, all right? And I promise you, as much as I love Dune, if Dune hadn't been on HBO Max, a lot of people wouldn't have seen Dune. All right.
Nope.
A lot of people would not have given that complex IP a chance in hell. But because it was on HBO Max, it was part of their subscription. It was a much less riskier investment. So when you're going to make, and then when you want to make a sequel for Dune, I would rather have everybody who could possibly see Dune than half of those people see Dune, and then a sequel not be justified. The very presence of HBO Max lets you know that you had a desire for it. Now, if you want to for Dune 2 and Dune 3 to make it exclusively just HBO Max, that's fine, but you've got that sampling out there. But you would not have, there's no way with the money Dune made, and like 300 whatever million at the time I last checked, were you going to be able to justify what is a total combined with marketing $300 million worth of movie just based on what you pulled in the box office? You had to prove that there was enough demand for it. So I don't even see how they would be losing money there, because you would have lost a hell of a lot of money, if you'd have released a complex like IP like that, and at least you could walk away from the HBO Max deal looking at the numbers from there, think people watched it. Same thing with Zack Snyder's Justice League. You have the data that people watched it. HBO Max is a part of your business. It's a part of your revenue stream. So I don't know. I think when they say they're losing money, I mean, I got to take him at his word. But philosophically, I think it's what what they're talking about. They're looking at revenue in the old ways, in the pre-streaming ways. And if you do, like I said, if you do the math of how 65, let's say 70 million subscribers times, you got a calculator in front of you now, 70 million subscribers, right, is what the aim is, times $14.
Hold on. I've got that. Hold on just a second. 70 million subscribers, you said?
Yeah, times $14.
Times 14.
It's around 700 million, I'm guessing.
That's 980 million.
Okay, so 980 million. Now, most of your movies not gonna pull that in their entire time in a run. That's a month. Now multiply that times 12.
You're looking at $11 billion.
Okay, so and that's low end because most of these subscription services are more than $14. So between $11 and $12 billion in revenue a year, just off of streaming alone. Now that's money that the middleman doesn't get. That's money, and I know people love theaters. And I like the theater experience, but when it comes dollars and cents, up to 25 to 35% goes to the theaters to be able to show it. And then your advertising budget, like I said, a lot of your streaming service movies are its own advertising budget because it's built in. When I watch something and I'm done watching it, it feeds me something else of like content. So $12 billion where you keep almost all of that versus you would have to have $12 billion movies a year. And that's just not happening under anybody's circumstances, or you'd have to release the volume. So the math is, I can always say, math is undefeated. So yeah, I understand where everybody right now, because the theater industry is being shaken and it's been shaken by COVID. But even so, as much as I love watching movies in the theater, that math, $12 billion a year, where you keep most of that, stockholders are not gonna turn that away. So that's just me. All right, cut. Yeah, I got what you mean.
We got a new member. We've got a new member down there.
Okay, I'll get him. That's why he wants to go theatrical. Like I said, I applaud what he's doing, because what Dazov also has to do is he has to repair a lot of relationships because of the way the previous regime, even though they were on the right track, they didn't handle it right. So I understand where he's coming from. Then I just don't think the math makes it sustainable. All right, David Tolson Jr. First time I've seen that name, so welcome to the club here. I have to say I never liked the name DC Extended Universe. Always preferred keeping it with the naming convention that MCU is based on DC Cinematic Universe. Well, to be fair, DCEU was never any official term that I ever heard from the actual company. So that's a term that we extended from what? Extended from that didn't make any sense. I really never heard anybody credible that ever used it. And that's why it made it so easy for them to just go ahead and change it to DCU. But we came up, I think fans may have been the ones that come up with DCEU. I'm not sure who actually used it first, but yeah, I 100% agree with you, David. All right, Hunter Iggy, William Powell, what Marvel actor or actresses would you like to see in the DCU? I've seen all my favorite ones there. Anthony Hopkins is there. Robert Downey Jr. is already there. Christopher Nolan has been there. Denzel Washington, I don't think will do it, but Denzel Washington will be up there.
They've talked about Denzel for the MCU.
Yeah. I don't know if he'd ever do it, but then again, I didn't think Anthony Hopkins would ever do it. So, there you go.
He played a good Odin.
Denzel Washington for me.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins played a good Odin, strangely enough.
Yeah. So, and like I said, he was well into his 70s when he did that role. All right, as long as James Gunn finds a conclusion to the Dark Side story, that's me. I'm 100% with you. I think that is something that's hanging over their heads, no matter how far you go on, even if you want to interweave it. Because like I said, Darkseid, no matter whether it was a Snyder cut or not, Darkseid is the logical villain to bring them all together. There are other villains within the DC universe, but there are very few of them like him that has that kind of power and that kind of power behind him that could cause that large scale of threat that would bring them all together, even beyond the Justice League. So eventually, it's logical that we would get a beginning to the end, whether Snyder is involved or not. That he set the stage, and if they're keeping this universe canon, or either universe, whether it's the Justice universe or the Zack Snyder Justice League universe, either one of those dealt with a new god. They dealt with either Darkseid himself or an emissary of Darkseid. So you could go from there and take your time. If it's a couple of years down the line, 3 years down the line, and you want to build up your own way to that logical ending, as long as we get it into the Darkseid saga, I'm okay with it too. So I agree with you right there. All right, Unholy Steel. I want to see the original cut of Suicide Squad in theaters, not the dumpster garbage. Like I said, I will support it, and if it happens, it happens. I just don't see them doing it because I just don't see the gain. And right now, if you look at them, what they're doing, everything is for a logical gain. For me, this is just me, a logical gain would be if we're going to go back to what David Ayer did and add, and we're going to see more of the Joker and Harley's relationship. To me, that led directly through BVS and into Zack Snyder's Justice League. And that's why you see the Joker there, and they're talking about Harley's death. These are the reasons, in my opinion, that they brought those characters to fruition anyway to be a part of his story. Now, obviously, they can be used outside of that as well, but I've always thought that that's why he brought those characters in. That the Suicide Squad, part of their involvement in it was to lead to what the ultimate story that he was going to tell. Without that, I don't know if they're going to do it. But once again, if it's not going to cost them that much to put it on, I don't think they'll put it in the theaters. I mean, unless somebody's going to have to fund that, or like I said, you're going to have to advertise it. You're going to have to spend advertising budgets because theaters aren't going to want it in their theaters unless you promote it. So you're going to have to spend some money there too. So it goes beyond just making it happen. It's got to work. So, but like I said, I'll do the hashtag tomorrow. All right, David, this is my first time with you guys. I come up from time to time when Enosh is hosting. Cool.
Welcome.
Marcus Cruz, thoughts on Black Manta becoming Wonder Man in MCU? Congratulations on getting another gig.
Really. That's a great thing.
I have no doubt that we will see him as Black Manta as many times as Aquaman calls for him to be Black Manta.
Well, and it's just proof that, it's just proof that an actor can work both sides and be fine.
Yeah.
That's really all it proves to me.
And Yahya Mateen, and plus he was if they ever did another Watchmen thing, he's Dr. Manhattan there. So.
That's right. He is, isn't he?
Yeah. Actors are just going to take jobs. I know fans think that sometimes there's no exclusive contract unless you sign an exclusive deal with them, and that's most actors and actresses are just not going to do that because it closes too many doors and it limits their scope. So congratulations on Yahya Abdul-Mateen for getting the gig as
So this isn't too distracting, is it, William?
No, I'm too busy trying to not fuck up the chat. My Iraq.
Understandable, man. Understandable.
Air cut will never see the light of day. It's 50-50. You have more of a chance now with this new regime than you ever did. But once again, you have to look at it from that point of view of why. It just has to be a strong why, and from their point of view, not from a fan's point of view. Because remember, before we pull out the first dollar for anything that we're going to go see, there has to be some structures to justify behind because you're using other people's money before you get fans' money. So I will support it, but like I said, I'm not sure. Hey, what's going on, Daniel? Not sure it'll ever happen. It's expensive to make a movie, to see a movie. It's expensive to see a movie here in Vegas.
In my opinion, with the Ayer cut thing, and I know I'm probably going to get jumped for this in the comments, but I think that even though it was great getting Zack Snyder's Justice League made, it's kind of set a bad precedent. Because, things like getting the Zack Snyder Justice League made is like a once in a generation type thing. Like the old letter writing campaigns for Star Trek, And I think that this sets a precedent for other people thinking that it can get, well, since we got that one made, we have to get all these others made. I think it lends to too much, what's the word? Not elitism, but expectation. Yeah. I think it leads to too much expectation.
But it's up to the studios to temper that expectation too. And once again, you also have to realize that a fan that, okay, we Zack Snyder's Justice League and David Ayer's thing was completely different. The basic nuts and bolts of it were there. There was a lot of stuff that was changed. With Zack Snyder's, it was completely transformed into something unrecognizable to us. And that level of movie was important that they corrected that. With David Ayer's Suicide Squad, that movie wasn't projected to make a lot of money to begin with, and it made a lot more than it was projected. So what they're going to do is they're going to look at it and be like, well, can it be, are we going to spend money to make even more money, or are we just going to spend money just to basically,
And the word I was looking for was entitlement. It gives the fans way too much entitlement and thinking that, well, our word's the only thing that matters. It's like I said to somebody earlier.
And demand. It's just like, once again, the grown up in the room has to be the studio, and the studio has to see whether it's worth it for them. And they took a look. I
completely agree.
They took a look at Zack Snyder's Justice League and decided that that was worth it for them to do so. And they have to take it on a case by case basis. If I'm a studio head and I have a certain amount of money at my disposal, if David Ayer's cut fits into the long term plans that I'm doing, I do it. If it doesn't, I don't. Like I said, I can't really cut here and here and here and then greenlight something that's not going to lead to the very next step. Now, if it's going to lead to the logical steps, then do it. If not, you have to weigh the business end of the decision as well. All right, Film Goblin just found out that Wonder Woman 84 was the #1 most sold movie in the U.S. on Blu-ray last year, which surprised me because every time I went to the stores to get movies, I always saw stuff. Yeah, same here. Wonder Woman 84 was, I don't know where those numbers are coming from. I don't dispute them, but that movie was horrible. That just means a whole bunch of people got a physical copy of a bad movie, because that movie was a setback for superhero films and that character.
I definitely wasn't fond of it.
Yeah. Unknown Gamer 37. Here's another first time. Zaslav just had lunch with Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, and Peter Safran. What do you think? Well, I think what I thought was going to happen as soon as the old crowd was gone is that a lot of people were going to find Warner Brothers pictures very attractive to work with again. A lot of people who understand, you're looking at a list of guys who know better than anybody how the business works and how the executive end of the business works. And if he's sitting down, if they're giving him the time of day, that means that there's consideration for possible futures. And Peter Safran has a good reputation in Hollywood. So a lot of people trust him. All these guys that said, well, Warner Brothers is doing permanent damage to their relationships and all that, and then people are going to work. That was all bullshit. That was never going to be a reality. As soon as the dust settles, grown-ups will do grown-up business. So yeah, I think it's good that he's meeting with guys like this, and I think it just makes it just proves my point that once proper management was installed, that Warner Brothers would become an attractive place to work again. Okay. Oh Jesus. I am not looking at that. All right, Stella. That's why I want to start a rival movie theater. First run movies are just so expensive. Yeah, it is. It's very expensive because of the cost that goes into them. Film Goblin, but yeah, Snyder cut. He had the most viewed engagement on HBO Max last year. As Zaslav said that he was looking at what was high viewer engagement to make content, and which is what he should do, and it's what his predecessors should do as well, and they didn't. And Aronofsky came out days after the Snyder Cut was released and basically buried it instead of waiting for the numbers to come in, which I always felt, I thought that helped grease her skids out of there. Zaslav said they will all only be made a fraction of return revenue on HBO Max. All right, once again, okay, and I love David Zaslav. I love what he's doing. But when he says that they only made a fraction of return revenue on HBO Max, what he's got to understand, and I think he understands this, retention is the most important thing these days when it comes to these streaming services, because people get in and get off. As soon as Game of Thrones, House of Dragon was off, you lose a lot of different people. You lose a lot of your demographic if they just go ahead and burn out the day after. If they go ahead and cancel their subscription, then all those gains you made to get those people to watch your subscription service are gone until the next big thing that comes out. That's a problem if you're talking about trying to maintain your subscription levels. So having something like Zack Snyder's Justice League helps you retain, and all these other things help you retain while you're releasing movies. So when you're releasing Black Adam, and for a lot of people who weren't on board with Henry Cavill's Superman but knew who he was and Black Adam in general, now you've increased the value of your streaming service, because guess what? All those DCU superheroes are still on there. They will refer to the stuff that's on their HBO Max streaming service. So retention, before you get to the point where you get a return on anything, retention is number one. Retention might almost be almost as important as growth, because without retention, you can't grow. If you're moving backwards, you're not growing. So I see what he's saying there, but I think because he's old school, I think he'll eventually have to adopt a new school.
Well, the way I look at it with what Zaslav is doing here is it's like getting a war zone and like taking over an area and then having to rebuild it, because the old regime pretty much wrecked, especially DC on the way out. Okay. So they kind of have to rebuild things,
Yeah, and he's going to have to say a lot of things that I think will eventually not necessarily be what's going on. Okay, we have a new member. Point X Lounge has a new member. Ryan, Dawn of Hope, DC. Okay. All right. Thank you for becoming a member.
Welcome.
Sure the entire lounge appreciates you, and I appreciate you as well.
We appreciate you, brother.
All right, Chappie, why do you guys think the reason is why Westworld? I was going to get to Westworld, but we ran into it, so cool. Got canceled, and a lot of people are calling David Zaslav a corporate asshat for canceling Westworld, which I don't know. Okay, first of all, those people who are calling him a corporate asshat for canceling Westworld surely did not watch the last season of Westworld. Westworld was on its. Now listen, you're looking at a person who really loved that show, and even though season 4 had its moments, season 4 wasn't very good in comparison, and you could feel the steam. There are two things that hurt, many things that hurt Westworld, and this was before Discovery ever took over. So those people who are calling him an asshat probably don't know what they're talking about, or probably never watched the show. If you watch the last season of Westworld, they were clearly knew that they were at their end. They clearly knew that they were on the verge of. And if you see how they ended Westworld season 4, that was an ending to a series. That was not an ending to a season.
Well, and I agree with some of our colleagues on YouTube that have said, on Twitter, who have said that they should give it like a final HBO Max movie just to tie up loose ends.
There was no loose ends. I didn't see any loose ends. In fact, when you were watching Westworld, when I was watching Westworld, they either burnt out all their roads or they terminated, or every storyline was terminated. They wrapped up every story. And that's what made me think, is this getting, when I'm watching the season finale of Westworld, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, is this going to get, these people aren't acting or writing this show like it's getting a season 5. The problem with Westworld is the gaps in between the seasons were too long. The gap between season 2 and 3 was devastating. And in
2 years.
Season 3 wasn't that good. And then you roll into a very complex and confusing season 4 that only really appealed to the diehard. And each time, if you look at Westworld numbers, it lost viewers each season.
The thing that's bugging me, though, and this is with House of the Dragon, I loved first season. It's a great show. But now we're hearing 12 to 18 months before we get the next season.
But see, and that makes me cringe too. I hate that. But House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones IP in general, you can do that. It sucks, but you can do that. You can't do that with a borderline IP like Westworld. Too many people don't get it to begin with. What Game of Thrones in general is a broad appeal. It's like crack. We'll wait. We don't want to, but we'll wait. Westworld, having those gaps, you lose people.
I don't have a problem with it, simply because I come from the UK, and television series in the UK, you sometimes waited 5 years between seasons. So I don't have a problem with it so much as like a lot of Americans do, because there's a lot of entitlement in American television. There just is. We expect a show every year, a season every year of a show.
That's what we were given for nearly 6 decades until we started, streaming in cable is the only ones that don't give it to you that way. Network TV, you still get 26 episodes. You get 26 more episodes, and
not necessarily anymore. A lot of shows are going to the 13 to 15 episode format now.
Unless it's a mid-season replacement. But if it's a strong show like Big Bang Theory, you got 26 Big Bang Theories. If it's a strong show, you got it. Mid-season replacements, yeah. But those weren't shows that were on the border anyway. They were test market shows. But when it comes to Westworld just didn't have that draw. Not from season 1, everybody loved Westworld, but then you took a year off, came back. Season 2, all right. After season 2 wasn't the most compelling thing in the world. And then you took a 2-year gap and you came back with season 3. Season 3 was very confusing. And once you left the park and didn't have a compelling storyline, after season 2, that was when it started to end. And they knew they were ending. And that wasn't necessarily a Zaslav move. It would have been, because the show, it decreased its draw. If you look up the ratings, I looked them up today. If you look up the ratings of Westworld, it decreased. It just didn't have the draw that it did. And it's a very, very expensive show to produce. It is one of the most expensive shows. Outside of Game of Thrones, Westworld is probably the next most expensive show to produce.
Well, that's why you got things like, that's why they canceled that Raised by Wolves show or whatever. It was so expensive to make. It was a great show, don't get me wrong, but it was expensive to make.
Yeah. And you have to, now with Game of Thrones and spending that much money, you have 30 and 40 million people every Sunday watching it. So you can justify that, so it's just it's a different game, but no, that wasn't a Zaslav issue. Any CEO that would have been sitting in Zaslav's space, even the previous people, would have cut the cord on Westworld. It was time. And they knew it was time. If you watched season 4, you knew that they knew it was time. So at least they got a chance to wrap up everything. So, Daniel,
and yes, Martin, I want to answer fun really quick. This mask, it's got an app on my phone, and I can change faces with it. Basically, I just hit the button on the app, and it changes the face on the mask. So, something I've got for my own personal YouTube channel when I debut it next week. Because I've got a character that I'm using to tell my stories on my YouTube channel. So
that's a creepy thought.
What, me in a mask for every show?
Yeah. Oh, actually, that the benefits there. Piggybacking.
True. I mean, if you look at this mug,
yeah,
covering it with a mask is a safer bet.
Right. Piggybacking off of Unknown Gamer 37's comment, who would you pick to direct a Henry Cavill Superman sequel movie? I like McQuarrie. I personally would choose Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder or McQuarrie. I think McQuarrie could do a good job.
The only other person that I can think of that I would really want would be Denis Villeneuve or James Gunn himself. So
what do you think? Just personal question here, William. What do you think about Spielberg and Superman?
He's more than capable. I mean, he's a legend. I mean, he could. If he was given the proper, see, a guy like that's going to be able to do whatever,
You don't think he turned it into some Amblin Entertainment sort of thing?
No, because the same guy who does Amblin stuff, it did Saving Private Ryan. And,
True.
And
True.
And Schindler's List.
And Jurassic Park.
So he can go. He's been around long enough. He has so many dimensions. He can go dark. He can go midway. He can go, he can go musical if you want to. So I think if he got the right script, I think he could beat Steven Spielberg. I mean, there's not much more you need to his resume speaks more than I ever could for him. So all right, but I don't think Zaslav is taking COVID as an excuse for why they weren't making money. No, part of it is because they lost money. Remember, he's not talking about things he did. So
you're right back, William.
The they is not David Zaslav. The they is the previous owners, AT&T, and the previous management with Imrak and Hamada and Sarnoff. So he's not talking about they. When he's talking about they, he's not talking about himself or his group that he currently has in place. So he doesn't really even need an excuse. Those people lost that money. He didn't lose that money. Them losing that money allowed him to purchase the company for $30 billion less than it was purchased by his previous owners. So what he has to put forth, and be honest with you, I don't, is the fact that, the previous regime was doing a lot of things that just weren't making money. And as far as them losing things on HBO Max, in order to say that, you'd have to basically say that HBO Max wasn't part of your revenue stream, and it is. So you can't just have a revenue stream and not invest to put product on it. You were going to have to put product on HBO Max no matter what, because you need new content to keep subscribers on. So whatever money he would have lost, he would have still had to put money into HBO Max to make it a viable platform. And like I said, right now he's saying all the right things to bring together all the filmmakers and the people who got hurt when their movies got put on day and date, and a lot of people that are watching. But like I said, $12 billion annually on your streaming platform. And I don't think you can sustain that without putting exclusive content on the streamer. And some of them are going to have to be movies. You know what? Because like I said, you have to add value to that service to keep me. $14, $15, $16, it may not sound a lot to a lot of people, but when it's the difference between a meal or not, and you got family and all that, that may be something that gets cut. But if you constantly have exclusive content on there, people will keep it for that, especially if you have it straight, if it's exclusive to HBO Max. Otherwise, if I run out of content or if I don't have regularly scheduled content, it's easy to cut. Star Trek, Paramount Plus, they learned that when they had so many gaps in their programming. HBO learned that after Game of Thrones left in 2019, they lost 52% of their male demographic. So what's better, investing in the streaming service that's going to be a big part of the future, or not having anything ready and focusing everything on the big screen? The big screen is not consistent money. That's not guaranteed money. The big screen is a gamble. If you lock in your subscribers, that's consistent. When you look at the subscription numbers, those are consistent across the board, unless you take a hit when you lose a major show. So what's the more worthy investment? I know it's big, grand, big screen. Everybody wants to be on the big screen, but at the same time, for every Top Gun Maverick or Avatar or Black Panther or Wakanda, we have how many movies that get released a year that don't even touch that? Some of them lose money. So you got to think about that. Looks like we got bots. Did you guys get the bots, or do I need to get them? All right, Stella, I'm assuming you saw those, so I won't even think about those. All right. DCU, World to DC. DCU, yeah, or DC's fine. Hopefully they cancel Westworld to make a Dune series. I think the Dune series is going forward. No, they canceled Westworld because it was just too expensive for the amount of people that were watching it. And like I said, I think the first people who knew and understood that were the people who were running Westworld, because of the way they wrapped it up. That's a series finale. That was not a season finale. All right. Ryan, I heard Zack Snyder use the name DCU. I love the name DCU because it Zack Snyder involved. Why use it? Why use the name DC? I never heard him say that, but okay. Like I said, somebody said it somewhere, but I wasn't sure if that was ever official. But DCU is fine. DC Studios. I'm going to start getting used to the term DC Studios because I think that's a very important moniker. Theta is doing Dr. Doom's skin treatment regimen right now. I don't. Whenever Theta is off the screen, I'm horrified to know what that man's doing. Smash the like button for my YouTube channel, please. Thank you. My YouTube channel is right above my head right now. It is youtube.com at the Sci-Fi Center. Thanks, Daniel. All right. False expectations. Bat City stuff. No. We the fans are the consumers, and supply and demand is a real thing. We have demand for the haircut. WB has a supply. It's like wanting a cheeseburger at Burger King. Okay, so this is the part that I don't know then. All right, how do I determine? I know with Zack Snyder's Justice League, we did a hashtag campaign, but you're talking about a much, much larger film and a much more larger IP and a movie that was so much more legendarily destroyed than the haircut. And at the time, they needed something to get people to add on to their
Sorry about that, William. I had to grab my dinner out of the oven.
They were launching a streaming service. I truly believe that they weren't launching the streaming service, HBO Max, at the time that they needed content, we may not have gotten Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, HBO Max has already launched. Is there enough sampling audience out there? And this is something I don't know. This is a question to justify the air cut, especially air cut putting in a theater. Now, streaming is one thing because it's cutting out middlemen. You're doing advertising for it, and it doesn't matter if how much money it makes like that because you're not measuring it. You're measuring streaming revenue a lot broader. But if you're talking about putting it in the theaters, you're going to have to justify that because no theater is going to want you to throw a movie at them that hasn't been advertised, and the studio's got to pay for that advertising. But do we have enough sampling of the air cut to make it worth the money that you would have to spend beyond just getting it done? That's a question. That's not a statement. That's a question. And that's, to be honest with you, I don't know. I can't answer that because it's not my company. And I don't have those raw numbers. How many people are with there already being a successful Suicide Squad out there? How do you do the metrics? How do you do the metrics to determine whether there's a demand for it? Do you look at maybe the Harley Quinn cartoon? Do you look at how many viewers viewed the original Suicide Squad? My logical way to do it would be looking at Zack Snyder's Justice League. Because you have one carryover character in the Joker there, so it all like I said, I would have to know the parameters. I'd have to know what the numbers they were using to determine whether to make this decision to say yay or nay, or to know if the demand is there. So
the only thing more that I want from the air cut is Joker.
Yeah, and that's why I said that looking at Zack Snyder's Justice League will give you a determination of whether, I mean, you can break it down to how many people watch this scene more than, these others. I mean, there's ways to do it. They just have to decide whether, customers always right. Yeah, as a retailer sitting in a place where that deals with customers on a daily basis, a lot of times, here's the thing though, the customer doesn't know the entire situation either. Like I just laid out for you a lot of different circumstances of why you could or why you could not. The customer doesn't know that. I get customers that come in all the time. You should carry this, and this. The customer doesn't know that getting that would be far more expensive than anything I could ever make for it. That one customer might be satisfied with it, but I'm sitting on a merchandise that now loses me money on a daily basis. For every one customer that says, "Oh, I want that," you should get that, and that's the only guy I sell it to. Then and then I'm marketing it, then I'm taking a discount. The customer walking through the door doesn't appreciate that all the time. The customer knows what he or she wants. The customer is always right about what they want. They're not always right about reality of actually getting it to you because they don't see that. They don't see.
Yeah, see this right here, Bat City. The customer is always right. It's subjective. The company also has to make money.
And stockholders and all that. I'm not even a publicly held company. All right. I think Zaslav trying to build bridges up. Yeah, that's exactly what he's trying to do. And I think he'll say whatever he needs to say to get some of these big names back on. But I think a lot of these guys will understand too. They understood what was going on with the last regime. So, but yeah, I 100% agree. He's building bridges and he's doing it quickly. It's like he's building a bridge while he's on a bridge that's collapsing from a previous regime's damage. All right, there's nothing wrong with air cut getting released. Director's cut gets released all the time. Well, once again, do I spend 1 cent on something that's not going to lead to more cents being made? I'm not saying that, that's, what's happening. I'm trying to think from their point of view. Director's cuts get made all the time, but you're talking about an overarching, like, okay, say for instance, Alien director cut or Blade Runner director cut. There's a lot that goes in. There's a lot of money that is spent to release stuff like that, either digitally or on digital media. So once again, how much is it going to cost to get done? What's the point of doing it? And fans are being like, well, because I want it. You know what? There's a lot of shit that I want that I'm never going to see on screen. Does it justify spending 1 penny on this when you can spend all the pennies on that? If their focus is on something that is not this, you're asking them to turn around and spend money on something that they have no intention of doing anything with other than just releasing it. Like I said, every director's cut that gets released, there's a decision-making process involved. And I'm not saying that if they take all these things into account that the air cut won't get released, but it's a lot more complex than just saying, well, director's cut gets released and I want it. Especially when you're talking about a company that is where Warner Brothers Discovery is right now, trying to clean up $46 billion of debt left behind from a different company. Everything that they do has to be scrutinized of how this works. Is this going to get us, like he said, Zaslav is looking for a return on certain things. Is there a return on, how do you prove the return on the air cut? And if you can do it, more power to you. Like I said, I would support the hashtag. Because there's nothing from, the world's not going to be a worse place for it getting released. But from a business standpoint, you have to justify every penny that's being spent. Especially with that management system that they're having to come up with because of their predecessors.
Well, saying because you want it is the reason to get it done is the same as saying, well, nobody asked for this, so why is it being made? It's the same thing, just two different sides of the same coin. And it all, again, comes down to perception, and that's your perception saying, well, it's important because you want it made.
Yeah,
that may matter to you, but that doesn't matter to the corporate when they've got to make money to continue putting out stuff you may like in the future.
Yeah, do I want them to spend money? If I had the opportunity on a Justice League 2 or, something, that brings the product further, do I make the decision on spending it on that or turning around and spending on something that already made us money when it came out and may not make us that much more, if anything, when it comes? It's just a lot to take in. I'm not saying you guys are wrong for wanting this. I'm just saying there's just a lot more that goes into it than just that. William, I would like to see Charlie Hunnam as Green Arrow, Chris Evans as Captain Atom in the DCU. I don't know if I'll ever see Chris Adams in another movie unless it's Captain America. I think he really just wants to play that character, and I think he's branching out. He's already played 2 superheroes now and for Marvel, but who knows? With Captain Atom, and plus Chris, he's heading pushing on 40s in his 40s now. I don't know how long he wants to even do it, but those are 2 good picks. Chappie, I agree. Dark Knight. Okay. Hello, everyone. Fun. All right. I thought I heard W Discovery call, and they had a horrible third quarter with HBO Max. Even with House of the Dragons, cause of concern. Just I can't read today. For concern, just continuing damage control from the. Yeah, it's House of the Dragon was their biggest thing ever. That dude, there's no way you could ever paint House of the Dragon as anything but a unmitigated success. So I think that might have been taken wrong. They had a horrible third quarter, and guess what? They're going to have a horrible fourth quarter and a horrible first and second quarter next year, and a horrible third quarter for 2033. That's what happens when you shit in the bed for 7, 8, 9 years, and then you sell the company. Anytime you accumulate that kind of debt without any type of the main revenue streams that you need, you lose money. The company was sold to AT&T for $70 some odd billion. It was sold to Discovery for 43, and that includes the debt of the devaluation. So for every dollar that they make, it goes to paying off a debt, because debt, bankers, interest, all kinds of stuff. So their P&L, which is their profit and loss statement, is going to be absolutely horrific for quite a while, and it's going to drive their stock down. Not for anything that they did, but it's the company that they inherited. So yeah, they got a couple of, and like I'm not a stock advisor, guys. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing. I'm waiting for that stock to go down a little bit more. And I'm gonna start buying boatloads of or what I consider to be boatloads of stock. I'm gonna switch my mutual funds and stuff like that over to WB, because until June of this year, next year, you're not going to see a slight uptick until the Flash comes out. And as WBD gets their people in place, start doing work, and DC Studios people start doing the work instead of what they're doing now is inheriting some movies. There hasn't been one project right now that has been green lit by DC Studios. Not one. And I think once you start seeing that happen and you start seeing some stability and they start writing down this debt, you'll start to see the P&L go up, because you're paying back the debt. You're spending less interest on loans and all that financing stuff. So yeah, it's going to be bad for a while, but you can't crap on somebody's front porch for 9 years and expect to be able to just walk in a house without tracking shit into the house. It just doesn't happen that way. Most of their woes that they're dealing with managing now is people who came before them. All right,
and furthermore, Zaslav knew that.
Yeah, they all knew it. So yeah, not a cause for concern. Damage control, because the whole thing he's doing right now for the next 2 years will be controlling the damage that the previous royalty left for him. All right, hey, fun. Yeah, he likes your mask. All right, William, this isn't a business in the old days. It's different now. William, this isn't a business in the old days.
This isn't like business in the old days, is what he means.
Oh yeah, and I that's what a lot of old school guys in their 60s and 70s are having to grapple with. You didn't have streaming back when a lot of these guys made their billions, when a lot of these movies companies were established. You just didn't have streaming, and like I said, you didn't have a $12 billion a year minimum revenue source like you did now. So now that elephant's in the room, you have to recognize that elephant is there. All right, Aaron Pritchard. Hello, Aaron. How you doing? Releasing a season every year is what ruined. What ruined Game of Thrones? Oh no, I have to disagree, Marty. Dude, having us go through that pain sucked. When releasing them every year, their numbers are great. What ruined Game of Thrones was lazy writing in the last 3 episodes. And that didn't even ruin Game of Thrones is a success. The original Game of Thrones is 100% success. Even if you, like me, hated the last couple episodes of it because I thought it was rushed and sloppy, and the fact that they shortened the 2 previous seasons, you had an 8 episode and then you had a 6 episode. I think that was bad. They should have all been 10 episodes from beginning to end. That's not what ruined Game of Thrones. Like I said, but if you want to say it ruined the last season was lazy writing and inconsistent storytelling and poor payoff to what was a brilliant season leading into that. So having every season was great, dude. I know I was packing the house with Game of Thrones. And to be honest with you, if you had a season ready for next August or next spring, Game of Thrones will be even better because you just released one of the best opening seasons of any TV show, and now you're gonna make people wait 2 years.
We got Jon Snow coming out next year.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt Game of Thrones if it takes that long, but it definitely didn't ruin it, in my opinion.
Well, that's why they need to stagger it like Star Trek.
All right, William, Green Lantern Corps was the most expensive TV show. Oh, wait. It depends on where they film it and how they film it, to be honest with you. You can film a lot of that. A lot of it's going to take place out in space if they do it right. Yeah, they're talking about your mask again. Ben Affleck or Darren Aronofsky to direct Superman. Ben Affleck, but he's a good choice. Sith Holocron, do you think that they're still going to try to replace Cyborg with Blue Beetle?
No, he meant the Cyborg.
Oh.
If you look below, he said I meant Cyborg.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know. I see what you mean. Those situations are still being worked out behind closed doors. If they can get a Cyborg in there, I'm assuming that that's what they would. He works better. We've seen how he works with the Justice League, but they could go either way with that. It all depends on how far the Blue Beetle movie is developed and how it goes with development, how it's received too. All right, somebody's laughing their ass off. All right, if people are that pissed off about Westworld got canceled, then they should have just started a position. They're not going to bring that season back because they have enough data. They have enough data on Westworld for us to know it was time for it to go. And this is from a Westworld aficionado. This is from somebody who really loved that show. And even this last season had some great moments. They just didn't have enough great moments. It just wasn't a very good outing. And they knew that they were losing steam. Like I said, if you watch Westworld season 4 and you watch that final episode, you knew that was it. That was it. And it did not surprise me. I hear news saying it was a shock that it got canceled. Not if you watch the show. Not if you watch the show's progression. Not if you kept track of its numbers. And not if you watched that last episode. That was not a shock at all. All right. I've worked retail for ages. The customer is usually on crack. Oh, jeez. This is Stella talking. This ain't me. On crack, and it's trying to manipulate the situation to their own benefit or abusing the system. That's Stella. Erasmus skeptic. James Gunn is going to have to rebuild consumer trust with the DCU brand after Flushihara and Emmerich. Yep. And I think they can. I am looking forward to good things. Max William, that's a good comparison. The Air Cut is carrying certain comic titles. Suicide Squad 2016 overperformed, and they need more reason than that. Yeah, like I said, if it happens, I will celebrate it. But I have tempered my expectations based on raw numbers and what these guys look like they're doing. I could be 100% wrong, but at the same time, you have to understand if they decide not to do it, it's not because they're assholes. It's because at this point in the game, it just doesn't make sense to do so. And if they decide to do it, and then at some point they have made some sense out of it to where, okay, let's do this. And but right now they're looking like they're trying to put together the pieces and make it so that they can sew the stuff that they have been left with the universe that they're building, which me is good news because this reboot is the same thing as stupidity. It's synonym. Look, go get a thesaurus and look up stupidity. The word reboot should be one of the first three words in there. So I'm glad that they're taking this route because that means that we're not going to have to waste time to start over again. All right.
Well,
I'm going to quote the Foo Fighters song. I'm getting tired of starting over again someplace new. That's what fans are tired of when it was from the best of you. And that's how I feel about DC films. I'm not knock it off. Let's go forward. No restart. Let's go forward. All right, wasn't it Adam Alter Ego in the Snyder Cut? Yeah, he was in there. Yeah, I forgot the guy who played him, but yeah, he was in there with Cyborg's dad.
I honestly think, and this goes back to what we were saying earlier. I honestly think right now is not the time for WWE to play fan service. Like they have to make money back.
Well, not only that, money's important, but right now with a company that's going to be written off as a loss for the next 2 years, I think that the most important thing, more so than money, and I know this is going to sound strange coming from somebody in business, they have to set a precedent that they're using solid thinking as far as their path forward. And the fans are part of that, but it can't go back to 2016, 2017, where the whining overtook common sense. And because when whining, anybody can whine, and that includes people who are not going to see your property. So what they have to do, and this is why when people say Shazam is causing a turmoil and this and that, it's bullshit. All right. That's not their movie. All right, the entire company is going to be billions in debt at the end of the year. You think they're going to give a fuck about not making $450 million? Would it be bragging rights? Would they crack some cheap champagne over it? Maybe. But their long view is way down the line. They are thinking beyond the Flash. So Shazam is over here in their rearview mirror. It was what it was. They did what they could to promote it and push it. That wasn't their movie. They inherited that movie. Now, but more importantly is establishing a bedrock. Establishing a rhythm of operations that is based on sound thinking. The fans' input is part of that. But right now, it ain't a big part of it. All right, because the fans are not privy. We are not privy to the things needed to be able to make these solid decisions. We're privy to our own passions and our own desires. But our passions and desires don't pay for shit. All right, by the time I whip out my money to go pay for a movie or buy merchandise or anything else, somebody has spent a lot of money to leverage money, to borrow money, to finance a movie, put legacies and jobs on the line before I ever even reach for my wallet. So right now, their course of thinking has to be based in, can this work for a long term? Does this make sense? And yes, we will be hearing from us. But we are not the top priority right now because we don't know. We don't have shit to make an informed decision. They do. They have all the numbers in front of them. All right. And they have two people running it blindly that I can kind of trust as far as going forward. Now, if they fuck up, then we have a different conversation. But right now, I'm feeling a little bit on calm waters for right now. So there you go. All right. If WD honestly believes Zack Snyder's Justice League was successful, they could theoretically justify it because it connects with Zack. Okay, so he's talking about the Air Cut because that was a hardcore fan base. Yeah, but yeah, you have to. That's your only justification. And not only that, but like I said, are you going to progress forward? Now that's what I want to hear. Now, if Zack Snyder's Justice League is canon, which I think it should be, then now you're talking about something different. But I have to hear that from them. I have to hear James Gunn. And I have to hear Peter Safran say Zack Snyder's Justice League is canon going forward. If that's the case, that means we're on the same road that we left off on. I haven't heard that yet, so I can't justify something to be connected to something that may never happen. But if they say, even if they go in their own different way as far as these characters goes, and they change their roadmap, if that road started there, then it's logical to assume that that will be necessary once again, and then you would want to develop those characters more than the original Suicide Squad did. But absent that, we're in a holding pattern, and I just don't see any evidence to just greenlight it for the hell of greenlighting it. But who knows? I could be 100% wrong. All right, let's see. Is that all right? We'll market the film for free. I don't know who would do that, but it could happen. All right, 1,000 people pointing out Zaslav said there hasn't been a Superman movie in 13 years, ignoring MLS. Thoughts? Be honest with you. Obviously, he was off, but when you're the top dog, you can be off, because guess what? You have a lot of little dogs that'll figure that out and get it right. I knew what he meant, and I don't need him to be spot on. His point was, it's been too damn long since we had Superman on the big screen. That's all I needed to hear. All I needed to hear, and he said this before when he says it's been 5 years since we had a Superman. He understands. That tells me he could have said 50 years, because you know why? It seems like 13 years. It seems like 50 years. So I'm okay with that. Let that old man approaching it on the 70s have his slip-ups. You can slip up when you're on the throne, because you got a whole bunch of people who will catch it for you. And when it comes time to execute, when it's Superman, that ain't going to stop us from getting a Superman a lot sooner than later. The fact that he might have screwed up on some years and numbers, it seems like forever. I can't believe it's been 9 years since Man of Steel was released, and 5 years since we had a proper Superman on the big screen. When you put those numbers together, dude, that's a long time.
The fact that a bunch of us nitpick that number is telling. Okay. If you look between the lines, everybody knows what he meant. Like William just said, nitpicking the fact that he said 13 years versus 9 years. Why are we nitpicking it? He made a point. It's been too long for Superman to be gone.
And I got that point immediately. All right, Sith Quran, what do you think of the purpose of Blue Beetle is now versus what it was supposed to be? I don't know, because I'm assuming that there might be a new script. Even though they started pre-production, it's not enough into pre-production to where Gunn and Safran can change what they want to. I'm assuming that it's going to be a piece of the overall puzzle that they're going to eventually build to after these movies that they've inherited have been released, and that'll be their focal point to be able to tell a story. And I think it's going to be a point of view story, to where it's Blue Beetle looking at the world that they all exist in, until we can get the character movies after the ones that inherited are out, and so that Safran and Gunn can tell their story. They will use characters like Blue Beetles and things that in Peacemaker. They will use what they have at their control to give us a glimpse of what the broader future is going to look like. So I think before it would have just been all about him, but I think that if they're going to place him in this universe, which it sounds like everything is going to be in this universe, then he's going to be like a point of view character, to where we see a much broader DCU, a much broader DC studios through his eyes, or through his story.
And I will say this: Zolo Duena, the kid that's playing the Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, he's a good actor. I've caught some of the stuff that he's done, and even though he doesn't have a whole lot under his belt, he can play emotion really well, and he does really well with the roles he's given.
Yeah, and also remember, this Blue Beetle was put in place when the previous team erroneously was going to reboot the entire universe. So now the whole, if they're continuing along on the same road that we had already started, then that alone changes the premise of the Blue Beetle. So it's going to be interesting to see what a lot of these characters mean now. All right, Hal Jordan, WBD will be in the red for some time. Oh, yes. Zaslav will try to keep the company above water while trying to rebuild the studio. That's why he's willing to invest in franchising. And that's smart, because franchises make money and they breed anticipation. All right, Chappie, 1,000. They can just do both or all three instead. Didn't know what that was going on. Hey, Drago, how you doing from down under? I'm thinking, or the problem Spielberg said this years ago, how you can't make money unless you invest enough in the film to feed a small country. If it bombs, they fall hard. You just got to manage things better. I mean, he's done. I mean, West Side Story didn't make any money. I mean, it's I know a lot of people who love that, but he's also talking about when you're talking about a big IP like that, and you put Spielberg's name on it, you're talking differences. A lot of the stuff you're not. There's only one Superman. There's only one Batman. There's only one Wonder Woman, and so on. So depending on, you just have to control your budgets and your expectations. If you spend 150 to 200 million on a IP that you think could work, go ahead and spend the money. You can't do that now simply because the brand was damaged so long. But I think they could get to a point where these movies could make their money back. They're not there yet, but by the time they get to a Spielberg type movie, if Spielberg were to do a Justice League or a Superman movie, I think the healing and the rebuilding of the brand will be as such to where the movies will make money. Because like I said, 200 million is not a lot of money when you're making 900 or 950 million. You're still coming out on top. 600 million. So there you go. All right, how you doing, Colonizer Jeebus? Jeez, this dude. Every time I see him, it's Jeebus, something Jeebus, but he cracks me up. All right, sorry, I thought I deleted my previous repost. Oh no. Oh, were you the bots that were hitting us, Sith? All right, Critics Act. Pearl Critics Act on the Steam. I said, Oscar, let's die. She's upset. Just kidding. Okay, I'm out of the loop on that one. Sorry. Let's see. All right, so StreamYard always. Oh, okay. I must have read something that was deleted. Sorry. How do I know when something's been deleted or not, and not to read it? Oh well. All right, so let's get to some of my stories. Well, actually, we've actually discussed all of the stories. I had all these things opened up, and we discussed most of them. The only thing I'm going to bring up is Wakanda Forever. I won't even bring it up on the screen because all I had was a graphic. I am going to see Wakanda Forever twice next week. A press screening on Tuesday and a fan event on Wednesday. And I will be taking some people with me. And what I'm going to also be doing is sending some people to the movies next week to see Black Panther. That dude Vince was one of my winners last time that we did it. What did we do it with? I forgot. I think we did it with the Batman or something, where we just basically bought you a ticket for wherever you're at in the United States, and we got that. Also, tomorrow night we're going to be giving some Top Gun DVDs and Blu-rays away, combos, so that you can have a Blu-ray copy and you'll have a digital copy. So we're going to be doing some giveaways over the next couple of days. So Black Panther, Wakanda. This is going to be the last Friday before the action movie gets released and before I see it. Everything looks great. Everything looks beautiful. Everything looks like this could be an Academy Award winning movie on several levels. At least nominated. I've heard that Angela Bassett's role in it is this might get a comic movie the first Best Actor nomination for her performance in there. I heard she's studying it. I am going to try to separate my misgivings about their decisions on the story. I'm going to try to put that out of my head. Although from some of the people that I've heard that have seen it, it will be almost impossible. And my misgivings is that, listen, I have so many places to pay respect to the dead. I have gravestones. I have mausoleums. I have funeral homes. I have statues. I have documentaries. I have, memorial gatherings, vigils. A movie is not one of them. I don't go to the movies for a memorial. I go to the movies to get away from things like that. And it's going to be a struggle for me to enjoy this movie knowing that I'm literally being given a memorial, and that's not what I go to the movies for. And no disrespect to Chadwick Boseman. I have all respect in the world for his ability, his work while he was on this planet. But there are so many different places that like I said, that are appropriate to memorialize somebody. A fictional superhero story in a place where I come to get away from the real world is not one of them. But that being said, the movie itself looks like a top tier Marvel movie. Could end up being one of the best that they ever put out. And I'm going to do my best to put that out of my head in order to enjoy this movie. What are your expectations for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever? State.
It looks good. I'll put it to you this way: that trailer made me tear up, and I don't normally tear up for superhero movies, but I hope it's the second trailer, not the first one, but the second one. I'm hoping that doesn't just become a memorial to Chadwick. I think that's a bad look, to be honest. But I think that there's enough other things going on in the story with the introduction of Namor and Ironheart, Riri Williams. That,
by the way, I'm going to say this on record. Ironheart, this is a brand new character. I am so shocked that this is going to get this is getting into a movie. But hey, there you go.
Hey, I was shocked that America Chavez got put in a movie. I mean,
two annoying characters for me as a comic book geek. I find both of them cringeworthy, annoying, but that's just my personal preference. I'm surprised to see a character that has literally no time on the page in any Marvel movie. But hey, there you go. I hope she portrays her in a way that just doesn't annoy me. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, and I'm not against Chadwick Boseman being memorialized. Don't get me wrong. I just think there's a time and place and a setting that you do it, and this is not it. So, and I know I'm in the middle. I know there are some people who are like, "Oh, we couldn't get over you. We know it'd be disrespectful," even though the family said move on. Yeah. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to have to put my head in a different space. If it's a good movie, I'm going to say it's a great movie. Those misgivings will not stop me from giving it. If it's a 10, it's a 10. But at the same time, the caveat, I'll come out of that theater and be honest with you, if I felt like I was being overwhelmed, if I felt like I came from a funeral or a movie.
Now,
I'm going to see a movie.
I want to address something because this has been in the news and mentioned, and somebody actually mentions it in our chat. There's a particular woman on TikTok who says that if you're white, you shouldn't go see this the first weekend. People, that is not Disney endorsing this woman, okay? Too many people this last week have been, on certain sides have been like, oh, see, this is Disney endorsing, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. Guys, this is the opinion of one woman on TikTok. Don't take it so seriously.
Okay. So I never had any kind of a rule going forward, but here's the thing when it comes to, you guys are grown not to take it. There are two platforms, even though I use them because business says dictates I use them. The two worst platforms are TikTok, and you know what the other one is, Twitter. If you look at my feed, you notice I never bring up my Twitter page, but if you look at it's on my website. I have a Twitter page. Some of you own, and I every now and then I put out, hey, follow me on Twitter. But out of all the formats that I have, the two worst ones that I have are Twitter and TikTok. Twitter especially because I just don't think it does anything for me. I use it for messaging and everything else. But what people say on TikTok and Twitter, I think it's been given too much weight just because anybody can get on the phone and put something out. And I've heard, I was never going to refer to that woman, but you brought her up. So as somebody of color, I think what she said was absolutely abhorrent. I think that if you have a legitimate content basis of not wanting to see Black Panther or seeing it and giving it your own judgment, that's one thing. But her reasons were not reasons I ever want to give the time of day to. I think they're divisive and I think they're stupid. So, but once again, it comes from formats that's all about. So,
mind you, I only bring it up because somebody said something about it in our chat. So
yeah, I saw him. I was trying to avoid him, but that's cool. Like I said, I don't mind talking about it. I just that made me so mad that just the whole movie going experience has been ruined by certain platforms. It's like, this is just another one. All right, let me see. Oh, so yeah, my expectations that's going to be a great movie, but I do have some issues going into it as far as that goes. Those won't be issues. We've already talked about Westworld being canceled. WWE's Crown Jewel is tomorrow at 8 a.m. in the morning. I just don't think I'm going to do it. I just don't think I can't, I could stay up all night and watch New Japan Wrestling, which I'm going to. I just can't see the worth necessarily in getting up 8 a.m. for this card. I mean, we have one of the Paul brothers obviously is going to be facing Roman Reigns. Let me run down I won't give this too much time because, like I said, I just don't think it's a very.
When's Logan Paul actually going to face a real boxer?
I don't think that's going to happen, and that would be the end of his whole deal if it does. All right, where is hold on, I got this. StreamYard, dude. StreamYard last night was doing all kinds of screwed up stuff.
Was it?
It was delaying. It was delaying stuff, and it was none of the people that I went on last night for just a few minutes, and nobody was getting the notifications. People were saying I didn't get a notification. They just happened to be on, and they saw me on, and
wow,
yeah, it was kind of annoying, and I just got off anyway. But all right, so let's see if I can do this right. And then the share screen thing. Here it goes. All right, so let's go down there and give this okay. WWE's Crown Jewel match card, how to watch. It's going to be on the Peacock Network, and I already got the service, so it's not like I'm paying a bunch of money.
So they are running this on Peacock?
Yeah, they are running on a Peacock. There has been some threats of attack because it's in Saudi Arabia and some Iranian group. I guess it was ruled safe enough to do the show. So, undisputed Universal Championship match: Roman Reigns champion versus Logan Paul. I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled an upset here, even if it's just to give credence to Logan Paul being a big name. Or at the very worst, it's going to be Reigns with a non-clean finish. This storyline, be honest with you, at one point, it was a great storyline. I loved where it was going, but it's gone on too long, and it's devalued the championships. He holds both of them, so that's a problem. All right, Raw Women's Championship, last man standing match, Bianca Belair versus Bayley. Two capable people. Actually, they put on really great matches. Both of these women actually put on matches that usually, in most cases, carry the pay-per-view. I think Bayley's going to win. Undisputed WWE, and this is another thing. They got both titles locked up with one team. They've held on to them for way too long, and they're also part of
the Usos again. Really,
it's the Usos versus the Brawling Brutes. And I think the Usos are going to win, and I think it's just going to keep dragging out to WrestleMania. All right, Women's Tag Team Championship match: Alexa Bliss and Asuka versus Dakota Kai and Io Sky.
The Usos and Roman Reigns are from the same stable, aren't they?
They're from the same family. Yeah, they're from the same. Yeah. They're from the bloodline. WWE Women's Tag Team match. I think Alexa Bliss and Asuka are going to lose this. I think they're going to end up losing. They might be a heel turn by one of them to join the other side. Maybe I'm just guessing, but I think they're going to lose that. I think Bayley. I think they're going to walk into Monday Night Raw with all three titles. 6-man tag: the OC versus Judgment Day. Wow, I am a big Bullet Club fan, so it kind of hurts me to see discount Bullet Club. I mean, you have two founding members of the Bullet Club with the OC and AJ Styles, one of the more famous leaders. That's what the OC stands for, the original club. It's just stupid. And then this Judgment Day thing is the angle is dumb with Dominic Mysterio and all that. And then you have Finn Balor, who's also Bullet Club. And when you watch the matches and the build up, you see them referring to something that they can't mention because they don't have the license to say Bullet Club. I don't know if that's being worked out, but it's kind of weak. Steel cage match: Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross. This is actually going to be a good match. I don't like the fact that it's in a steel cage because I would love to see these two battle just in a straight typical match without a gimmick. But there you go. Braun Strowman versus Omos. This is just going to be a power on power match. Neither individual is a very good wrestler. They don't need to be. They're basically power on power. So Braun Strowman is like 6'5", 6'6", but Omos is almost like 8 fucking feet tall. So it's going to be fun to see that. Bray Wyatt brings mystical energy to WWE Crown Jewel, and that I don't know what he's going to be doing. But go ahead, Dave.
Hey, William, I got a question.
Go ahead. Was
it at SummerSlam that I'm talking about back in the 90s? Was it at SummerSlam that the Undertaker got buried got betrayed by Paul Bearer and got buried?
I think so. That's that's like almost 30 years ago. I can't remember.
Well, the only reason why I ask is I've got Peacock, so I'm looking at it right now, and I can go back SummerSlam all the way back to the first SummerSlam.
Wow, so do I. I have it too. Okay, fun. It looks like they're going to get rid of all the DC shows in the CW. One can only hope. Do you think the new regime will start a new DC TV shows, or are they done with that? It all depends. I don't. They could produce content. The main reason why a lot of the DC shows are ending there is because they're selling the network. But they could still produce stuff and have that network air if they want to. I don't know if it's cost effective because once again, in order to have TV shows be viable, you have to have ad revenue. So you may see shows that are on DC content. What I'm thinking is once they establish their mainline big screen universe, that you'll see things like Peacemaker, you'll see things like what Marvel does, and have supporting shows that lead into it, kind of like what Batman Reeves is doing in his universe.
The only thing that's going to be left continuing from here on out is Superman and Lois. They have been greenlit for a third season.
I think that is eventually it's going to be their last on network TV, though. I think they'll move that over.
Oh well, supposedly they're not even going to CW. They're being put on HBO Max.
Oh, there you go. I don't
know.
And
Titans season 4 just started. So
yeah, I started watching that last night. And like I said, it all depends on how much it costs to make these shows and if they have the numbers. You know, if they put them on there and they have the numbers, it justifies keeping them. Aaron Pritchard, David Zaslav is a 62-year-old man, and people need to cut him some slack. He's an older gentleman of a certain age, and people keep that in mind. Plus, he's got a lot going on. He's literally has a shovel that he's using to scoop up flaming piles of shit that he was left behind. So I'm going to give him some basis just based on that. I mean, there's a lot. It's like giving an interview while the Titanic is sinking, and you're going to be the guy that patches the hole up, gets that Titanic on the water again, and back to Southampton and saves all the lives. At the same time, you're giving interviews. So I'm going to give him some slack. I agree. Yeah, it's gonna be. She sent me the email today. I think she's got I think it's on 4K. I'm not sure. She didn't give me the picture of the thing. I got to email her again. That's why I didn't want to. I was going to give away some tonight, but I didn't have all the details, and her email was cryptic. Because I want to actually do a whole presentation because it's kind of cool. I love giving away free stuff. All right, 4th and 1,000. It's going to get so much black being black and going to. Oh yeah. Dude. What the hell? I'm as black as this shirt. I'm going to see Wakanda Forever. These people. Stop. Listen, guys. Twitter and TikTok and these goofy formats, including YouTube, are only as powerful. These people are only the gods that people make them. Some of these people are talentless pieces of shit, but they've been put on these pedestals, and what they say matters. I mean, Elon Musk, nothing these people say matters to me. All right. And they get all these follows and likes and retweets. And I'm like, that is fuel to their bullshit. You are literally creating a bullshit factory for these guys. Not you, Fourth, but in general. I mean, that lady got more traction for that bullshit than anybody should have ever gotten. You know what? And then you got a lot of people across all formats that just make trigger content. They put their thumbnails, and they know their thumbnails and their story is bullshit. They know it's bullshit. They know it's hollow. They know it's garbage. But when people see that thumbnail, they're like, "Oh, I got to go out," and then that's what's going. My advice to everybody to bring the blood pressure down: just mute these people, or just don't give them the time of day. You don't even have to respond to any of this stuff. But that's social media for you, boy.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's just nonsense. All right. To be honest, I thought America Chavez was great and strange. She was all right. But as a comic book character, that led to her is just annoying. I just thought she was still a character, but that's her best look is in Doctor Strange. All right, the Weird Al Yankovic movie is amazing. By the way, that's free on Roku. That's free. You just have to have Roku, and it's there for you. It's like the storyteller in the movie 300 told the story of Weird Al, dude. And I like What's her face is Madonna. Speaking of Westworld, Evan Rachel Wood is Madonna. I thought was excellent. All right, TikTok is owned by the CCP. Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, I think isn't that owned by partially by China?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there was no just all these things that they do because they're not gonna let each other get hurt. By the way, off topic. People need to stop challenging Mike Tyson to anything. It's still Mike Tyson. I looked at Mike Tyson the other day because he's going to be on Rampage tonight on AEW. Stop messing with Mike Tyson. I know these are exhibitions and shit. One of these days he's going to get carried away, and him saying, "Oh, sorry, I got carried away," is not going to do you any good when you're knocked out by a 55-year-old man that does not look 55 years old.
He's going to hurt someone.
Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar are fighting 46 and 45-year-old men that look better than most men in their 20s that I've seen. Bobby Lashley's like, I don't know what he's drinking. He looks awesome. But yeah, don't mess with Mike. Let's see.
Oh, and by the way, the match I was talking about, it wasn't SummerSlam. It was In Your House.
Oh, I remember that. I remember those.
It was Mankind and Undertaker in a buried alive match.
And they had a series of matches.
What's up, Chris?
Is that you who's trying to I keep getting comments, but they don't show up. Is that you? That must be you, because me and Enosh could not figure out who it was because it won't let us see the comments. It says they're there, but it doesn't say. So now I know who it is. How are you doing, Bipolar? I need to get Chris, dude, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell everybody who has these cool voices. You need to do voiceover work, man. Get that cash.
I've actually had a couple of auditions over the last couple of months, William.
Cool.
For voiceovers.
Dude, if you can get that cash. Sandman has greenlit for, so we talked about that last night, or one of the things I talked about last night during the 26 minutes that I couldn't get on the air everywhere. But yeah, I am happy about that. I thought that if it didn't get greenlit by Netflix, I think that's one of the things that the Zaslav regime, given the numbers, would have taken an HBO Max, and I would have just been fine with that. But I'm glad that Netflix saw the value in that, and I really love that show. I really, 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 really love that show. So I'm happy to see it continue for however long we can keep it. If it's just 2 seasons, that's great. All right, let's see. It annoys me when I hear some people say that the DCU should have started with a solo movie when every single character then built up. Yeah. They always want to tell you how the storyteller should tell us a story, and I didn't think you needed to do that with DC characters that have had their origins told to you for like literally 80 years, and Zach did it right. The only problem that happened is the people that were backing Zach, the execs, just didn't have the balls to let him do what they hired him to do. All right, guys, I think I'm about to wrap. Oh, I got a $2 super chat from Sith Holocron. Sorry, I didn't mean to troll. Were you trolling?
He was kind of trolling.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if you troll and you're not an asshole about it, then I'm just going to read them up and down like it's just a normal deal, Hey, William, this is from Phil Gallo. When do you do a live video together this weekend? Probably tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit of a longer stream, by the way, because
I was asking, are we doing the overnight show tomorrow night, or?
Yeah, we get an hour back that we got fucked out of in March. So
okay.
So we're probably going to do some gimmick to where we're going to do a lost hour or some shit like that. I'll think of something, but yeah, we're definitely going to be on tomorrow. So, and that I'll probably use that extra hour just to bring on some people who have been asking to be brought on live. So be prepared for that, guys. William, I believe the Robin that is in Ben Affleck was Jason Todd, not Robert Grayson, Dick Grayson, Nightwing. I think that Zach said it was Dick, but you can change that. Okay. All right, guys, that's going to be it. We went on for hour and 30 exactly. And I got some stuff to do before I wrap it up here at the store tonight, and I need to get some sleep. So I won't be doing a midnight stream tonight. So I'll actually be catching up on recovering. So thank you, Stella, running stuff in the chat for me, getting rid of all the sex bots. Thank you for everybody who jumped in and added questions and content and made this a much more interesting show than just me and Thay talking to each other and him in his crazy mask. And thank you, the network. Thank you for the super chats and the memberships, everything like that. Be sure to, if you can, go to youtube.com at the Sci-Fi Center and join my page. Like I said, we're going to be doing some content on there, some short form content on there. That'll be a little bit more informational than just these streams that we do here. And that's it. I think we did. We covered everything I put on there.
All right. I just want a real quick plug for myself.
I do not fucking care. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just
kidding.
Starting this next week, I will be I should be debuting my show, my personal channel. It's going to be true crime and horror movie reviews and horror topics. I'm going to do a couple of recorded episodes a week and then a weekend live stream during the afternoon. So I will tomorrow night I will put my link in the chat so everybody can, go over and look at my channel. Right now all that's there is a couple of tests that I did, but now like I said, I should have some content starting next week. So
cool. We'll promote it here as soon as he has a link for you. We'll put it in the chat tomorrow. Hopefully he has some previews and stuff for it. And who knows, I might haunt him there like he haunts me here. All right. That's about it, guys. Let me get to my outro so I can go out with a smooth ride. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 for a extra long overnight. We get our hour back. Sci-Fi Center Live overnight. Bye.
Good night.